This is my Wrenn and 7 Fury, Kazuul Fury combo deck. So we got 2 copies of Sanitarium Skeleton, 4 copies of Prosperous Innkeeper, 2 copies of Marauding Light Priest, 2 copies of Vergi God of Storytelling, 2 copies of Grinning Ignis, 4 copies of Knothold Recluse, 4 copies of Kazuul's Fury, 4 copies of Burn Down the House, 4 copies of Pestilence Cauldron, 4 copies of Unnatural Growth, 4 copies of Arlen, the Pack's Hope, 4 copies of Wrenn and 7, 4 copies of Dark War Pathway, 4 copies of Winterbloom Campus, 4 copies of Crackhorn Pathway, 4 copies of Knothold Slumber Mound, 4 copies of Rockfall Vale, Bali. So it's a 20 land deck, and we have Kazuul's Fury, which sometimes we do charge them. We only need 1, so the other extras are worth charging. It's land. When you're behind on lands, because for some reason you're not drawing your lands, it's nice that you can use this as a land. One, obviously this helps pay for itself, because you only need 1 red mana in order to play it. Mana base is largely, it does look like it's largely red, but it's green, but it does have red and green combined. Some black, obviously splashed in there. Some more black, because we do have this black card, and obviously we have the Pestilence Cauldron, which is both black and green, so you can choose to play the artifact or play the restorative first. I tend to play the Pestilence Cauldron more because it's a token generator, and it combos well with another card, a couple of the cards in the deck. It's part of the Infinite Mill strategy, so there's Infinite Mill in here as well as Infinite Life Gain and Infinite Life Loss. So, and then of course there's just the Kazuul Fury Fling combo. So we got a couple different win cons. So nice, versatile deck to have multiple win cons. And this is a draw engine where you can exile, pay for, tap this, exile 4 target cards from a single graveyard and draw cards. It has draw engine capabilities. Tokens, when they die, you get to when they die, you get to gain life. So this is also even a life gaining engine. So yeah, tokens to chump block, gain life, install, long enough to have enough mana to play your big boy toys, your 5-drop cards. Because your main key cards is your 5-drop Wrenn and 7, your 5-drop Unnatural Growth, and your 3-drop Kazuul's Fury. If you add all that up, that's 13 mana to play all 3 of these cards in the same turn. So, if you get 13 mana, definitely can do a lot, because you play this, make the token, the token should be 13/13. Play this, when you enter battle, the 13/13 will become a 26/26, and that in that situation, and then you just can fling the 26 with Kazuul's Fury to your opponent. Now you don't need to get that far to get into that situation where you play all 3 in the same turn. You could play this like on turn 5, play this on turn 6, right? Then on turn 7, your token should be, your Tree Folk token should be a 7/7. Well, if you do it right, you'll use the Wrenn and 7's ability, +1 ability, after you make the turn in which you made the token. So on turn 6 and turn 7, you should make this like a 9/9 if I'm right. You should have, turn 7 you should have 7 regular mana plus the, making sure I'm thinking right. Turn 7, you should have 7, you played 7 lands. Then you trigger this card's effect and get at least 1 extra. So it should be an 8/8. If you got more lands in your hands, of course you can make it stronger, but at least you should get to 8/8. Turn 5 you play this, get the token. Turn 6 you +1. So you get lands and play a land, then turn the 6, and then turn 7 you play land, then do the ability to play another land, or yeah. So pretty much you can get it to 8/8 by turn 7. And then 8/8 that with a natural growth turning into a 16/16 is not bad. 16 is more than enough to end your opponent, because that just means all you have to do is at least 4 damage by turn, by like turn 7 at the most, right? By turn 7, you should have been able to at least do 4 damage. And your opponent gains no life. You should be able to use this combo to deal your opponent 16 per game. That's all I'm done. But that's a basic thing. Of course, there's you can do more than that, because I've had this in play, 2 copies of this. Brought out the token, the tree folk at 10 power. So then it became a 40 token, right? When I enter battle, it had 40 power, 40 toughness, and of course that's more than enough for me to Kazuul's Fury. That reminds me, because this is the second time recording this. Let's see, yeah, still have this set up last time I was recording this. So once the picture shows, so this was one turn before I Kazuul Furied my opponent. And as you can see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lands. Obviously, tell by the 2 tokens I have, they're both 6/6. Now my opponent has 6 lands on his side here. So clearly I was able to ramp, because you see I have 2 innkeepers, so I was able to obviously ramp early and get my Wrenn 7, but I also was able to get Arlene, and Arlene, of course, making she was the first planeswalker I played with the first treasure token. So I played her, and then later on with the other treasure token, or when I got to 5, whatever, I was able to play Wrenn 7. Point is that I was able to play these a turn earlier, so that's why I have 6 lands, and now I have 6 lands, and I have both these planeswalkers, and I have 2 6/6 tokens, and 4 2/2 both tokens from Arlene, and I have 2 tree folks from Wrenn 7. And clearly I played more than 1 Wrenn 7, if I'm right. I played 2 of them back to back. Because right now I think what I'm doing is that I'm casting this, thinking, no, I think this is when I made this token, the second token. I tapped, played this, and I made the second token. As you can see, I got the Unnatural Growth and Kazuul's Fury in my hand for my next turn. My next turn, obviously, is the kill turn. It's a turn I go off because I pay 5 for this. If right, next turn I do get a land, because I use my Wrenn 7. Yeah, that's what I did. I did the -3 so I can make the token. Next turn I'm going to use the +1 ability to get more land. Then I'll play the Crag Crown Pathway, making my token 7/7. Then I use Wrenn 7's 0 ability to play another land, so they're both 8/8. Notice my opponent's at 9 life, and I'm at 40, so clearly I was getting a lot of life. I had a whole little elaborate combo where I kept making a whole bunch of tokens. Obviously, and I have 2 innkeepers, so I'm getting 2 life every time I make a token. But I was using Pestilence Cauldron in combination, in combination with what is it called, Sanitarium Skeleton. So I have an infinite card I could discard, and keep making the tokens. And what I kept doing was making a token on my opponent's turn. Right, that's the strategy: is make a token on my opponent's turn. After I did Arlen's +1 ability, so that way it gets a +2, +1/+1 counter. That's why you see the counter on it. So that's a cute little trick there. So I can make a 2/2 pest token that I can use to block any problematic 2/2 creatures, plus gain a life in the process. So it's a nice little engine where I can make 2/2 tokens. So there's that. Thinking what else? So of course I'm 1 turn away from doing the combo, and then next turn like I said, I get them to into 8/8s, and then I have to play the unnatural growth. I attack, or I enter battle, and it tells me I have to attack, so I attack the leader, being my opponent, and then I Kazuul Fury. Well, I forgot to mention what happened was is that I played this as a green land. So I need 4 green to play the unnatural growth. I currently have 1, 2, 3 green lands, so this is the 4th green land in order to play this. So everything is tapped. The extra land I get gets played tapped by Wrenn 7. So I'm clearly not going to be able to use that for Kazuul Fury. But ironically enough, I have Bergie, God of Destruction, in play. So when I play Unnatural Growth for 5 and still have 2 red lands up, she gives me a red mana just for playing the enchantment, which was an interesting interaction because I wasn't thinking about that when I first played her. She's part of a different combo. Obviously, if I got Ignis, Grinning Ignis, I would have infinite life right here. So I have this and that, and all I need is Grinning Ignis, and I would have had infinite life. You already see I'm at 40, so I'm already gaining life even without Ignis. But if I had Ignis, infinite life, I would have like 100 life easily if I had Ignis. But the but like I said, I played the lands, this and that. But the fact that it gave me the energy, the red energy, and it doesn't disappear when I enter combat, it'll last until end of turn. That was very helpful because in order for me to do Kazuul Fury with unnatural growth, I have to go into battle, and the mana needs to stay. It needs to not disappear because that 1 red mana made a difference. But that 1 red mana plus the 2 red lands that I had untapped, that's 3 altogether just to play Kazuul Fury. So I was able to play Kazuul Fury turn earlier. So this was added to the deck for a different reason, but ironically, it actually works for this combo. So it's kind of nice that there's some synergy there. So now, as you can see, under the right conditions, I can actually play Unnatural Growth and Kazuul Fury in the same turn. Typically, I would need 8 mana altogether, but in this situation, I will actually only need 7, because as long as I have her in play, once I play this for 5, I'll get 1 free mana for this. So then I'll just need 2 plus 1 is 3, and get Kazuul Fury. So she actually acts as a mana rock or mana source. So that's kind of cool, that interaction, which was accidental because I didn't plan to use her for that. It's just that I noticed that when I played the growth, it actually, because my goal was to just play lands and then fling this. And since I was only able to get it to 8, I'm like, okay, I'll just fling it, right? Just fling it for 8, because I can't play Unnatural Growth and fling. But it turns out because of her, I'm like, wait a minute, I played Unnatural Growth, and I saw that she made the mana, and it's like, oh yeah, she serves another purpose. She just creates mana for you casting something. So since I played the enchantment, she just made the mana, and I had 2 red lands available. So that's 3 mana. So that's exactly what I needed in order to play Kazuul Fury. So I would have had to wait 1 more turn, and I don't know, I think my opponent had plans to do something. I mean, I had 40 life, so I doubt he would have been able to beat me. But I think he was trying to figure out something. He probably was gonna probably play a board wipe or something, clear my board, and then attack me with all his tokens and go for game. All he needs is 10 4 power tokens. So clearly, if you add over here, he has 41 power right here on the board, and I only have 40 life. Granted, even after he clears my board, I could play a Pestilence token, block one of the attacks, and gain a life. So I could potentially survive with 2 life left or something like that. If the worst case scenario, right? Well, if I'm slick, no, that wouldn't be a good idea. I was gonna say, if I'm slick, I'll play this and make the token during the board wipe, so I can gain 2 life. But that'd be no, that would work. It just I'd rather do it, make the token afterwards. But it's the fact that I could get 3 life. So I get 2 for playing the token, and then 1 for the token. So I would gain 3, so I'd be 42. So even if he attacks me for 41, I'll still have 2. So in a way, it still kind of works out. let me see. If I take away 4 from 40, that's 36 plus 1 is 37. So if I wait until after he board wipes to make the token, I'll have 3 life left instead of 2 life. That's the only difference. Just 1 life difference. That's all. Just 1 life difference from that interaction. But anyway, let's get back to the deck. You get the idea. I wish I recorded the gameplay. It would have been badass. But I already made gameplay showing off the combo already on the channel, so you can see it in action in a different match. But it would have been cool to see that match. But that's why I screenshotted it, because like, oh man, this was cool interactions with that. So that's the importance of Bergie. Bergie did have a use other than just being part of a infinite life combo. She actually did help the main combo. So I went through the list and I went through that little backstory explainer. And that was just the first. That was the first duel after I modified the deck. I changed, like I added this, I added this to the deck. I have 4 of these, but I took 2 of them out so I can add these and then add these. I took out another creature and added these 2. I had like, I had another creature or a creature or something like that. Of course, I still kept this one because this is the 4/2. It's important. Four power is important, especially for reach, but it's important in this deck because of the fact that we turn 4 power into 8 power with unnatural growth, right? And then 2 unnatural growth, that 4th power goes all the way up to 16, right? Because you're doubling it twice, so you double the 4 to 8, and then the 8 to 16. And 16 is a really good number to hit your opponent with. And like we said before, if you at least deal your opponent 4 damage, right? All you have to do is get the Tree Folk token to 8 power, then unnatural growth it to 16, and then fling it for game. All you have to do is at least 4 damage. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard to, hit your opponent for 1 with this, hit your opponent for 1 with that. Like turn 1, like, well, you play this turn 1, so that way turn 2, you can swing with this, and then play this on turn 2, and turn 3, swing with it. You haven't played anything yet, so you could at least get 2 damage in by turn 4, at least. 2 damage in by turn 4. All you have to do is 2 more after that, and then bang, your opponent will be in kill range for the, Wrenn and 7, unnatural growth Kazuul's Fury combo. So there's that. Of course, Sanitarium Skeleton. 1 black to play, 1 black, 2 of anything to return this from your graveyard to your hand, and you can play this at any turn. Your turn, your opponent's turn, which is awesome. That has some use. We use this to discard. Obviously, we could play it as a chump block, right? Play it to block some attacks, especially against some 1/1s. So it's a good 1/1 killer because it has 2 toughness. It's a good shock target. It's nice when your opponent wastes a shock on this card, forgetting that you can just add it back to your hand and play it again. So that was a waste. I love it when people waste kill spells on this thing. It's not even that big of a threat, but hey, whatever works. But we mainly use it to discard for Pestilence Cauldron, and then add it back to our hand for 3, and then pitch it again for Cauldron. You get the idea. We just keep using that every turn, so we can make a Pestilence token, a 1/1 black green Pestilence token every turn, with the ability that when it dies, you gain a life. Which is very useful, especially as a chump blocker. So we can use it by itself as a chump blocker. So for 4 mana in total, 2 black and 2 of anything, we can reuse this as a blocker. Play it and use it to block an attack. Play it, use it to block an attack. I've used that a lot, but of course, combined with the Pestilence Cauldron, we can always make a token. The cool thing about the making the token strategy is the fact that you can wait until your opponent attacks, so you don't make the token first. You wait until your opponent attacks. You don't want to make the token on your turn, right? Or even before your opponent attacks, because then they have a sorcery kill spell, but you don't want them to use the sorcery kill spell and get rid of the token and then attack, because then you'd be defenseless. You rather they go into battle, attack, you make the token, and then use the token to block. In order to kill the token during battle, they're going to have to use it instant. But since you declared it as a blocker already, you still get to block, you still get to stop the attack, and they waste their kill spell on killing a 1/1 token. So that's why you rather wait until they attack and then make the token and use it to block. So that's a little pro tip right there on how to use that card. So this, of course, combined with this, is an infinite, token generator, infinite defense right there. So that's some nice synergy there. Innkeeper. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. So this helps us ramp. And also, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, gain 1 life. And of course, multiple copies of this stacks, so you get a lot of life every time you play something. And of course, this combined with Bergi, God of Storytelling, and Wrenn Ignis is essentially infinite life. But ironically, MTG Arena makes it hard for you to do it. The best I could do is like get close to gaining close to 50 life. Like I could have like 8 life and get close to, like, for example, yeah, I could start off at 8 life and get close to like 40, 45, maybe 50 by the time that the app tries to end my turn. Even though I'm clearly performing actions, it wants to punish me for doing the action repeatedly. I noticed that while play testing a lot, is that it kept trying to punish me. One time I literally gained enough life that I can play Cauldron for 1 and tap it, and then each opponent mills cards from equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. So since I gained enough life to mill my opponent, I was going to play this effect to mill my opponent, but then the app ended my turn and made it my opponent's turn. I was like, whoa! I didn't end my turn. What the hell just happened? I was going to bounce this back to my hand so I can get the 2 colors and the 1 red. Use the colorless to play for this and trigger this and mill my opponent in game. I had game on board, but the app literally stopped me from winning with my win con and ended my turn. And not surprisingly, I ended up losing. My opponent broke my board, so I wasn't able to do the combo again and gain life. Because the important things is that I have to gain life in the turn in which I activate this effect. So I can't gain life 1 turn and then trigger this effect the next turn. I have to gain life in the same turn that I would trigger this. So that the game room strategy, like, ridiculous, but okay. Not going into a rant on it. Moving on. Of course, using this with any of your token generators, you can get 3 life from playing this and making 3 devil token. You can, obviously combine it with Pestilence to gain a life, and then of course the token when it dies, you gain life. So you can gain 2 life just by having this and this in play, and then using this as a scarf fodder. You can literally have a gain 2 life chump blocker to block an attack every turn. So good synergy with just those 3 basic cards. Making the Pestilence token while you're under the effect of Arlen the Pax Hope's +1 ability, and her ability lasts until your next turn. So you trigger it, and then on your opponent's turn, you do the Pestilence Cauldron during your opponent's battle phase. They attack or end phase. That way, you make the token, get the +1/+1 counter, and if you have an Innkeeper, obviously you'll gain a life, and you have a 2/2 token you can attack with. Not just use it as a shield, you can also use it as a sword. In that situation, because 2/2 power is not bad, right? It's decent attack power. That's why they make 2/2 DK zombie tokens, and those tokens be putting in work. So making your own 2/2 token, allows you to put in work. So yeah, she makes tokens. So she makes 2 wolf tokens with her -3 ability, so you'll gain 2 life just by having that. This makes 1 token, so you'll gain 1 life from that. So we have a land here, this one. Slumber Mound, this makes a token, so you can gain a life from having that in play, so you get the idea. Marauding Blight Priest. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So this, in combination with the Innkeeper and the Bergi, God of Storytelling, and the Wrenn Ignis, can allow you to make your opponent lose life. If your opponent has, like, let's say 13 life, You just have to do the combo 13 times to gain 13 life. Your opponent loses 13 life, and you win. This is the fastest win con of that loop of the gaining life and doing something. Then the mill, because if your opponent has like a 55 card deck, you have to gain 55 life just to try to trigger this effect to mill your opponent out. But like I said, in MTG Arena, it literally tries to prevent you from doing that. It is very rare to be able to gain enough life to perform the combo. So, and sometimes my opponent will try to stall, try to rope me, as they say, try to stall me to slow me down. I guess they know that the longer it takes for my turn to end, the more likely that the game app itself will try to boot me out of the combo. The person knows I literally have an infinite combo, but instead of letting me perform it and win, they literally try to stop me, slow me down, and try to put me in a situation where I would probably run out of time for my turn, which ruins my combo, which means they get another chance, which we all know in real life, I can just be like, okay, I do this 50 times and pay one tap, mill you for 50, game over, right? You just say those things and bang, it's done. Both players understand the loop, they understand the situation, but the app literally forces you to have to cast and play the loop the hard way, and then it tries to punish you if you take too long to do anything on your turn. So it's like, yep. So on MTG Arena, this loop is difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. Something you could do, right, is instead of trying to mill them all in one turn, you can like gain 20 life and then mill them for 20, right? And hopefully survive another turn, right? Because you should have a lot of life, and then do it again. So you could mill them half their deck, and then try again the next turn, mill half their deck. Like you could try that, but in real life, with real paper cards, you could just mill them out. Like, yeah, I got this loop. I could do this 50 time game, 50 life. Or I could do this 60 time, get 60 life, mill your whole deck, and that's it. In real life, the loop is just obvious, you lose. But in the app, MTG Arena, it tries to make it harder than that. So it's not clear and cut. I hate saying GG to my opponent when I have the combo and I'm gaining the life setting up to mill them, and then the app boots me out or something, ends my turn or slows me down, makes it really, really hard for me to get to playing Cauldron's ability. So that sucks. Alright, enough of the rant. Fergie, like I said, when you cast a spell, you get a red mana, so you cast anything, not just creature, so that's an important detail. And it's the only effect of her I use is because I just combined her with Ignis, with creating Ignis, but ironically she had she had synergy with Unnatural Growth to help me pull off my Kazuul Fury's combo, so that was nice. But she mainly serves the purpose of combining with granting Ignis for the infinite casting, and since he's a creature with Keeper infinite life, and since I'm gaining life, I can either make my opponent lose life and win that way, or mill my opponent and win that way, or just having so much life that my opponent can't beat me fast enough, so they'll either deck out or they'll scoop. A lot of people, when I started the loop, actually scoop. I'll say GG, start the loop, and they'll see like, oh man, he's gonna keep doing that. Okay, you win. I get it. You have an infinite life combo. But in the app actually is like, nope, you're not going infinite. It literally tries to stop me from going too far. Like the most I want to do is gain at least 100 life at most. If I'm trying to gain a lot of life, 100. I've gotten up to like 50 like a couple times. I was able to get up to 50 life and then end my turn. Typically now what I do is I try to get to 40 life because I noticed the app is okay with me gaining 40 life. It's just when I try to go beyond 40, the app starts slowing me down, starts asking me, do you want to resolve these effects? It's like, duh, I was resolving these effects for 20 plus times, and now you want to start asking me if I want to resolve the effects? F out of here with that. But anyway, moving on. Ignis for 1 red mana, you can bounce it back to hand and create 1 red mana, 2 colors, so you can only activate this as sorcery, so you can only use it on your turn. And of course, combine with Bergie Infinite casting, because she makes 1 red, so you can always bounce them back. So you get that idea. Then we got Knothold Recluse. There was a couple other 3-drop reach. And there's obviously higher cost reach battle cards. This is a pretty basic, just a 4/2 3-drop reach spider, but it puts in work because that 4 power is relevant in a couple ways. One, it definitely helps to kill any 4/4 flyers or 3/4 flyers or 5/4 flyers, because most flyers or angels, I've faced a lot of angels, right, tend to have 4 toughness. So that 4 power is relevant in that regards. Then there's the thing I mentioned earlier about dealing 4 damage. So that when you do the deck's main combo, all you have to do is 16 damage. You don't have to do more than 16. Just do the combo and you should have 16 power to burn your opponent. So this is one way you can get your opponent down to 4 or 4 or less. So that way it'd be easier to Kazuul Fury your opponent for game, which is your main win con. But I made sure there was other win cons on the deck you can use. But that's your main win card. Just Kazuul Fury your opponent for game. This is a 4/2, like I said. Most of the other ones I used had higher toughness, like 2/5 or something like that, which was nice, or 3/5, which is cool. But it's like, yeah, I'm not trying to block a flyer every turn. I want to block it, yes, but I also want to kill it. I don't want to block it and then it survives. I don't want to survive an attack and that's it. I don't want it to be a temporary solution. If I'm blocking, I want that thing to die. So that's why it's like, nah, I need a flyer with a higher attack but low cost, and I found this one. This is so far the best in this format anyway. Reach. So this is my solution to flying creatures. If I could give it first strike, that'd be badass, because then it'd be very problematic. What's really cool about it being 4/2 is the fact that when I play a natural growth, this becomes a 8/4, which, yeah, it can still lose to a 4/4 fly fairy or something. Not fairy, angel or dragon or something, right? But the 8 power would definitely take down even 6/6 flyers, 7/7 flyers, like, because there's some, obviously some flyers that maybe start off as 3/3, but then they got abilities to make themselves strong, so they get to 4/4, and then they get to 5/5. Once they pass 5/5 and they get to like 6/6, then burning down the house is useless. Burning down the house is good for clearing the board of 5 toughness or less creature, but sometimes my opponent gets some of their flyers into the 6 toughness level, and this doesn't get rid of them. But this, combined with a natural growth, could do that. Another thing you can do is play her, right, use her +1 ability, then play this, so that way it becomes a 5/3, so it can take down a 5 toughness flyer or whatever, or just creature in general. That, just being strong, that power is useful. Just like the, it has the same name, the Knothold, right? The Slumber Mound, it creates a 4/4 token with trample, which is nice. I wish it had reach. I prefer reach, but I'll take trample. Especially 4/4 trample with unnatural growth. Because imagine using your mana, right, to play unnatural growth, and then next turn, create a 4/4 token using your mana, right? Just using mana. Like, you could literally be in a scenario where all you have is unnatural growth and this land and a whole bunch of lands. It's like, oh, I still got something. I could play this. Then next turn, when I untap all my lands, I can play this. I can destroy one opponent's lands and create a 4/4 goblin token. Troll warrior token with trample. And then with this, I'll make it a 8/8 and 8/8 trampler, can deal damage. If I have 2 of these, it'll be a 16/16 trampler, so you get the idea. So that 4 power matters because it can get really big really fast. So that's why this is a 4 power. Token is a 4 power. The tree folk, we always want it to be higher. Sometimes I bring it as a 4/4. Typically, it comes out as a 5/5, but it gets stronger. But 4 power is an important number in this deck, ironically. One thing I like to do, well, Kazuul, let's go to Kazuul Fury first. Alright, so Kazuul Furies, obviously, is an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, so sacrificing creatures a cost. So if you get to your battle phase, right, while you have unnatural growth in your tree folk token, it's double its power, you can obviously play this and as additional cost just to play it, you sacrifice a token, so that way you don't have to worry about somebody trying to use a kill spell to try to kill the token, right? To try to kill the token in order to prevent this from doing its thing. Because in order for you to play this in the first place, right, you have to sacrifice the token. So you play this, sacrifice the token. So in the game you play this, target your opponent or target whatever you want to target first, then choose the creature sacrifice for this, and then your opponent can try to respond to the card. So it will already be too late. The token will already be gone, and this will already have the ability to deal damage equal to that the token's power, which should be 16 plus power, and easily beat your opponent with just that. Also, this doubles as mana because you can see on its backside, it's a red mana source. Comes into play tap. Plenty of times where I had to charge this just to get me enough mana to play this or to play Wrenn. Just to be able to play most of my deck. Because sometimes I don't draw lands for some reason, and I have to use this as land. So it's nice that at least it's an option. At least I can charge it as land as an option. So that's awesome. Then we have burn. Of course, you can use this as a kill spell. Sacrifice one of your creatures and kill something. Like I've used that once. I attributed one of my wolf tokens that I made from Arlen. First I attacked. Opponent blocked with a 4, so something that had 4 toughness, and it was down to 2. And then I use Kazuul's Fury to sacrifice the token and finish off the job, as they say. So it can be used as a kill spell in the right conditions. Obviously, it can be used as an evase type card. Because what if somebody had a card that says, let's say you had this on the field and they had a card that says, kill target creature and and discard cards from target opponent. Mills discards cards from the hands equal to the creature's power. That would be a very strong effect. Too strong, but let's pretend something like that existed, right? Then you can use this and sacrifice this and fling it, the 4 tough damage to your opponent's face, and avoid that scenario of you losing your entire hand because of some ridiculous effect. Or they have something where it's like kill target creature and deal your opponent damage equal to that creature's power. Then it's like, oh man, they will kill me. I only have 4 life and they would kill me with my own power. Instead, I'll just fling it. I'll just Kazuul Fury it and deal them 4 damage instead of me taking 4 damage. That kind of stuff. Oh yeah, another thing you can do is obviously block with something and then use this, to get something out of that creature. Especially if what you're blocking has, let's say you do this right, and you make a token, and your opponent attacks with something. Let's say what they're attacking with is a 21/21 trample. Well, you're going to take 20 damage if you're blocked with a token. So what you can do is declare the token to block the attack, right? Declare as a blocker. Then, because I'll Fury it, and launch it to your opponent's face. Why not? Every damage counts, right, towards your victory. So fling it to your opponent's face, deal them 1 damage, and prevent the battle, and you don't take no damage, and you survive that turn. So that's another way you can use it. Tip right there. Back down to burn down the house. It serves 2 purposes. One, a board wipe. Deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. It's interesting that it does planeswalker. A very, very useful ability. Oh my god, this definitely is useful. Especially I went up against a deck that all it was planeswalkers and had a really cool strategy. They were doing really good, and I'm like, man, if I was playing a different deck, it's like, man, if I just had burned down the house, this would be a different story, because I would have board wipe the shit out of um, I really was having trouble getting rid of the planeswalkers. But then, this will obviously have solved that problem. So there's that, plus is the fact that this is, a cool card. What I was going to say earlier was, I like it when the tokens get stronger than 5/5, like on turn 6, I have 6 lands, they become 6/6. Then I play Burn Down the House to deal everything 5 damage, which usually kills my Wrenn 7, but I always, make sure I get his +1 ability off first, or +0, whichever ability I need the most, especially if I'm trying to get my tokens to be really, really strong. If I have more than one, but typically I might have just one. One is enough. Get it on to feel strong, and then, board wipe with this, and it'll survive. And of course, I can attack with a token that turn, do some damage, and then, just keep weakening my opponent's life, get him to less than 10, so that way, when let's say I get to 10 lands and this has 10 power, and I got my opponent down to 10 life, then I could just, Kazuul Fury and win that way. Like, I don't have to use Unnatural Growth if my opponent is weak enough that just a strong Tree Folk token and a Kazuul Fury is more than enough to win me the game. But, sometimes I literally have to, Unnatural Growth in order to guarantee the Kazuul Fury wins me the game. So there's that. But I definitely like it when I can make a strong token, attack with the token, my opponent's already weak, I just make them weaker, and then it's like, damn, all I have to do is fling, just Kazuul Fury, and I'll win because that's double the damage. The attack from the token and then flinging the token will win me the game, and, why not, right? I've done that a couple times where I attack with the token, dealt my opponent damage, and then flung the Kazuul Fury for game. And the second part of the card, you could choose to make a 1/1 Red Devil creature tokens. This, has good synergy with, obviously, Unnatural Growth. With one copy of Unnatural Growth, you can make the tokens into 2/2s, so you have 3 2/2s. But another thing that you can do that I did was use Arlen's +1 ability, so that way I trigger her +1 ability, then play this to make the tokens, and then the tokens come into play with +1 counters on, so they're 2/2s. And then if I still have them in play, and I play Unnatural Growth, they'll become 4/4, so I have 3 4/4 attackers. And of course, if I play a second copy of Unnatural Growth, then there'll be 8/8 attackers, just like there'll be 8/8 blockers if I use it to block. That's another thing, is I use Unnatural Growth just to pump up, my tokens and my other creatures. Like, I've gotten this to a 4/4 power before. That was kind of cool. I had this in play, and I had 2 of these in play. I was able to get these to 4/4 power, so it was kind of nice to see my weak 1/1s, become powerful 4/4s, and that number is good power right there. Let's see where I'm at. Okay, so I'm at Pestilence Cauldron. Like I mentioned before, you tap, discard a card to create 1 black, green, and creature token with the effect of when this creature dies, gain 1 life, which has synergy, obviously with the Rotting Blight Priest to make your opponent lose life. It does have synergy, ironically, with itself, because if you gain life from the token, from the token creature, you can trigger this card's pay 1 tap ability to make your opponent null a card from the top of their deck. But you can't do both in the same turn. Ironically, you would need 2 copies of these in play, 1 to make a token and 1 to mill. So if you manage to get 2 copies of this artifact in play, you can do the make a token, mill but the token has to die, of course. Make a token, block with a token, it dies, gain a life, and then mill your opponent for 1 with the second copy of the Pestilence Cauldron, and you'll need a 1 energy, 1 mana to obviously trigger the second copy's effect. You get that idea. So, and then of course combine it with Sanitarium Skeleton, so you have infinite discard for the discard fodder for reusable discard fodder for the Pestilence Cauldron, and just keep that little loop. So some of these cards, like, just how you use them create some really nice strategies, reusable resources, and that's what I always like. I always like stuff that can keep being used, right? You know, it doesn't like infinite money, right? Infinite money means you can do everything and anything you want, right? So infinite resources is always preferable. Um, and then of course this can be a draw engine. Pay for, tap it, exile 4 target cards from a single graveyard and draw a card. Obviously, we use this on our opponent more often than ourselves. So sometimes I've used that to draw, and it has made a huge difference. It was able to turn the game around for me. Draw engines are always important to have. Uh, okay, a natural growth, of course, is simple. At the beginning of each combat, so your combat, your opponent's combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until the end of the turn, which is badass. Just realized it says until end of turn. I thought it was until end of combat, until end of battle phase. It's actually until end of turn. So I was like, oh, cool. So at the start of combat, it triggers and doubles, but the doubling stays until the end of turn, which is useful because that means in main phase 2, you could uh, play something else if you have something else to play. Alright, and of course this effect stacks, like I mentioned earlier, 2 copies of this will turn any 4/4 into a 16/16, for example, and 8/8 into a 32/32. I've done that before. Alright, so Arlene impacts Hope. Our main purpose in here was mainly just for her -3 ability to make 2 tokens. So a 4-drop that can make 2 tokens is useful because that's either 2 chump blockers. I could stop 2 attacks and try to stop to get to turn 5 to either A, play my board wipe in case I'm in a bad situation where my opponents have board advantage and I need to clear the board, or uh, get to my stall until I get to my Wrenn 7 play, make my token, and then use my token as my defense. Alright, so I was looking for something in the 4-drop slot that could be a help for me, something that could either block for me or be a threat. Sorry, block for me or be a threat, or be a solution to a problem. Like the 2 tokens combined blocking a creature can take down a creature with 4 toughness, so that has some use there. I've done that before where somebody attacked with a 4/4 and I blocked it with both tokens. Literally the turn after I made the tokens, I played her, made the tokens, upon attack, I blocked with both tokens and killed their creature. I guess they didn't realize I could easily do that, or just they didn't care. Either way, it benefited me. And I only really use her front side. It's rare for me to use her back side. That's what he said. She has the daybound ability, so of course once you play her, you automatically get it's automatically daytime. Once it's nighttime, she flips over to her Arlen the Moon's Fury side. She has the +2 ability to add 1 green, 1 red, 1 green mana. That's pretty cool. One, she pluses 2 markers real quick, and if I'm right, when she flips over, she'll still have the markers because I'm not used to a 2-sided planeswalker. But if she flips over, if I'm right, she keeps the loyalty counters, which will be badass. Because then, of course, you'll be able to make tokens moving that way. So you flip to the front side, get 2 tokens. 2 markers. Flip her to the back to the front side, and then -3, make the tokens, and then flip her over. If you can get to the point where you flip her over, +2 to get her back up to 3, and flip her over, and then -3 and make more tokens. Granted, she'll die in that situation, but you get the idea. Or you can just like +2, so that way she's at 3 markers. When she flips over, do +1 instead of -3. Do +1, so she'll be at 4 again. And the following turn, do -3. to make the token to 2 tokens, and she'll still have 1 marker. And then hopefully she flips over, you do the +2, and you get the idea. Just in general, even just doing the +2 multiple times and then flipping over to her front side and then do the -3 to make the tokens would be pretty badass. But it's cool that on the wake on the back side she makes she makes mana. That could definitely make a difference. And then she has a +0 ability. Until the end of your turn, Arlen the Moon's Fury becomes a 5/5 werewolf creature with trample, indestructible, and haste. I did not know it was indestructible. I remember trample and haste, and I remember it coming out as a 5/5. I think what happened was that they activate Arlen's +1 ability, and I don't didn't make much sense. Or they had some other ability. But somehow it was a 6/6, so like it flipped over, and then it was a 6/6 all of a sudden, and it was 6/6 trample with haste. And that was a pretty big deal. Because if my board was cleared, I think I did a board wipe, so there was nothing on the board, and then they played this, and somehow it got strong, and 6/6, and I only had 6 life, so they attacked me. But I didn't know it was indestructible. It was like, that's nice. And yeah, and that's for free. For free, it becomes a creature. That's pretty badass. Ironically, that's part of why I wanted it. I was like, oh, I like that. I like that it makes tokens and it becomes a, thought it just becomes a 6/6, but it's like, okay, it's a 5/5. It just somehow they made it into a 6/6. It's like it's 5/5 with trample with haste. That's awesome. I can make the tokens, then find a way to flip it over, and then I have something strong that I can trample with. And of course, the idea is because it has trample. Now I know it has indestructible, which is badass. But it's like the haste and trample is useful because once I bring it out as a 5/5, right? Bring it out as a 5/5. Have this in place so it's a 10/10, right? Since it has haste and trample, swing with it, deal some damage. So even if they block with a 1/1, it'll still take 9 damage, right? But it's still 10 power, right? My opponent takes 9 damage, it still has 10 power. Goes all fury it to my opponent and deal him 10 damage. So that's potential 19 damage right there. If my opponent doesn't block and takes the 10 damage from this 2-card combo, then goes all fury for 10 more and 20 damage in 1 turn. So there's potential in these 2 cards. And of course there's a werewolf in this artwork, so surprise. And they're from the same set, and they're both, let me see, no, this is a rare and this is a mythic, so surprise the synergy there. Then we got Wrenn in 7. We use the +1, the 0, and the -3. We never use the -8. So as soon as we play, we do the -3, which is create a green treefold creature token with reach, and this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. So the more lands, the more powerful it becomes, obviously. The +0 ability, put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped, and then that's just to help us obviously power up the treefold token. And then the +1 ability, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all lands cards revealed this way into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. This helps if I'm if I'm getting a little mana screwed, but then I use innkeepers to make treasure tokens and help me ramp up into this. At least once I play this, I immediately make the token because I need that defense. Then after that, the turn after that, I start doing the plus ability so I can start trying to get lands because lands are important because I need lands to play this. And then of course, because of Fury later on once the token is strong enough. So that is the basic line of plays for those cards. And the lands, obviously green and some other color, green and some other color. Green's this is just red, but it has token capabilities and it could make the difference between winning and losing. And this is green and red, so it's green and another color. So that we can have the red and green you'll need. Always make sure you have at least a minimum of 2 red energies just for burn down the house. But everything else requires just 1 green or 1 red or 1 black. So I try to make sure it was it wasn't that hard. But this requires 2 green, right? This requires 4 greens to keep that in. So we'll try to keep track of that. Need 4 greens to play this. And another thing is you always want to play your lands that come into play tap, enter the battlefield tap. Obviously, you always want to play them turn 1. Try to make sure that they're very little. Typically, you want only a maximum of 4 lands that come into play tapped, but I had to go 8 just because I wanted this token. But this is like the only, you know, just 4 of these, right? But I really like this token generating ability. So far, I haven't had much of a problem with having this land in the deck, so it's in there. Even though it's just a red only energy, mana producer, the token generating aspect of it and land destruction capability is useful. Because that destruction of land destruction ability is good against killing somebody's man land and then making a token process so you can destroy somebody's man land. Some people use Field of Ruins to deal with man lands, lands that turn into creatures. I have this in the deck, so I can use this to deal with those types of cards. Plus, be able to create my own token. Because man lands, they're temporary, right? You pay, use them for 1 turn, then they turn back into land. This will let me destroy a land, which makes it like Field of Ruins in a way, but my opponent doesn't, replace the land that I destroy. And also I get a 4/4 token in replacement of losing this land, so it's acceptable. When it loses a land, very important land like a man land or some type of land that gives them some type of advantage, and then I get a 4/4 token in the process. And of course, that 4/4 can be an 8 or 16/16 flung with Kazuul Fury for game. So there's just energy. Put a lot of time and effort into this build, so if you enjoy, have fun. I did. And that's the end of the video.